What character slash role did you serve in Antigone?
I played the role of Antigone.
I was the understudy for Antigone.
I played the role of Creon.
I played the role of Ismene.
I was the messenger.
Was the understudy for Ismene, the Sentry, and I also was props design.
I played Haman.
I played Tiresias.
I played Queen Eurydice.
I was understudy for Tiresias and Eurydice.
I was the stage manager for Antigone.
What was your favorite part about the rehearsal or performance process?
Ooh, we did a lot of fun things.
There's a lot.
The big thing actually had a lot to do with the fact that it was the first time we'd gotten to do theater since the pandemic.
Favorite part was probably getting involved with the community and getting to know everyone around us. It kind of became like a family.
I think it was really cool how we got to use the upper level of the black box. And it was nice that we actually got to have a performance as one of our understudied characters.
Working with the entire cast was a lot of fun. Yeah, I got to work with some people that I never got to work with before.
It was interesting to do the character work, to be reading the original trilogy, and to be able to look at it in light of today.
Specifically, warm-ups were really fun. Just because, I don't know, we do a lot of fun warm-ups and it gets everyone involved, and I really liked just that bonding experience.
I think my favorite part was probably rehearsing like the chorus parts because it was just such a group like ensemble activity. Like there was no way to do it but to be like very in sync and to work together.
When we were workshopping the odes and figuring out like orchestrating the text like a piece of music, it really made the text come alive and forced us to think about what we're saying and what we're trying to communicate. And like the final product was so musical.
This show in general just really pushed me out of my comfort zone. I am somebody who just loves to do characters that are larger than life and just very, very comedic. And so to have a character that's very reserved was such a challenge for me, but something that, like, in the end, I felt really happy with the progress that I had made.
What was the biggest challenge that you or the production faced?
Not being able to perform in front of a live audience. That was hard.
I mean, it definitely was just a very stressful time.
Not a lot of us had a whole ton of experience in Greek theater. Some hadn't even had it in class yet. Well, for me, this was my first time being a lead ever. So that was definitely a whole new environment for me. I definitely felt a lot of pressure, but I was trying not to feel a lot of pressure because you were like, oh, no pressure, but there's pressure.
Finding our characters in a way, I think a lot of the cast had like struggles finding their characters just because it's a Greek play and it's not modern, and when you're working with something that's not modern, it could be kind of difficult.
The biggest things for me was looking at Creon's relationship with Thebes and with his family throughout the trilogy. Obviously, he comes from a family that has quite a history. So really, a big part of what we looked at in Antigone, at least for my character, was Creon's understanding of his duty versus his understanding of his family.
There's a lot of pressure on me because my character is the one that has to break Creon. Getting that monologue right was a big moment for me as an actor that really pushed me.
I think one of the most challenging parts of Antigone was that our amazing director had chosen to make it an homage to the Black Lives Matter movement. And that's very tricky to do that in a way that's honoring and respectful. So it was hard sometimes to know, like, is this going too far? Is this not going far enough? How can we make this, how can I, as a white stage manager, do my best to respect and honor the experiences that I haven't had?
It's a heavy show, especially since we added the aspect of social injustices that are happening in modern day on top of that.
How did COVID affect the performance process?
So Antigone was the guinea pig for Messiah's theater in the time of COVID. We were dealing with cast members in quarantine and how can we have this moment of deep connection between characters when they can't touch each other or can't like embrace.
COVID, I think, changed so much of the theater world, but it also brought a really unique opportunity to live stream. So I'll definitely highlight the fact that my parents and other family friends got to watch this production that they wouldn't have been able to watch otherwise was such a blessing.
I was grateful to have been able to do a show through COVID in general, like at all. So super grateful for that. But the masks were so annoying.
I think it wasn't so much the fact that we had to wear masks and social distance. It was more that we weren't exactly sure where the limits were, I think.
I think it really changed the whole dynamic of the show, right? Especially because we didn't have that in-person audience. We couldn't feed off the audience in the way that theater actors typically are used to doing.
The big thing was that I realized I'm a mouth actor and that like this part of my face is so expressive.
I will say I ended up going into quarantine. I was a close contact, so I had to be in quarantine for a week. And that was really challenging. We were in the blocking stage of the rehearsal. And so I just missed that like time where you get to play with your character. This was a production where like there was a lot of like inner reflection that went through my mind. And that's something that I come away from of like, I performed for the Lord because there was nobody else sitting there in the audience that day.
If you could tell your past self in Antigone one thing, what would you tell yourself?
Trust the process.
Relax and live in the moment a little more because I feel like I didn't enjoy it as much as I could have.
Focus on the people and the process and worry less about the product because people and process is the most important part of theater.
I would tell my past self that you'll get through it, knowing that I can lean on the rest of the team and like have that support. Um, I didn't take advantage of that at the beginning, and knowing that I could do that to grow stronger in that family.
Yeah, I think it would just be to get out of my head and enjoy the fact that we were doing theater at a time when, you know, that people really weren't.
I would just tell myself to have more confidence and to be proud of the work that we're doing. Just to be a college student in COVID times, just to be a human during this time is challenging. So giving yourself grace and just saying like, hey, I got up today, I did my best, and that's enough.
I guess the big thing would be enjoy it while it lasts. Now that I've graduated, I'm not really getting to do as much theater right now because there's not a whole lot where I live. So, enjoy every moment of it.
Be kind to yourself. Give yourself a whole heck of a lot of grace because you need it and you deserve it.
Relax. Like, yeah, relax. Dude, my anxiety was just like up here. And it really didn't need to be.
What do you want the audience to get out of the story of Antigone and our production of it?
I definitely really want people to look at this story in a whole new light, especially in the world that we're living in today. Always fight for what you believe in, especially when others are telling you that it's not worth fighting for. Don't let anyone tell you that. Don't let others tell you you're wasting your time or that your fight is worthless, because it's not.
I mean, I want people to get that sometimes doing what's right means going against what's socially correct.
Sometimes people who are in charge aren't correct, which isn't really a shocker, but I guess just standing up for what's right and being fearless about that there's nothing wrong with that. And being outspoken can be a good thing. It's not always something that is frowned upon.
I think it's really cool that we were able to interpret a text that was written such a long time ago and that the story can still be relevant today.
Pay attention to how things are being said rather than what's being said.
And also, I think it focuses on the fact that we, are still dealing with not listening to women in particular. And I think that is something that's still really relevant today. And of course, in our production, we took that a step further and kind of talked about how people aren't listening to Black women specifically.
Throughout time, I think it's always important to question and to consider with those around you, what would it mean? What is my civic duty and how does that relate to my familial duty?
How important humility is, because I mean, as Christians, I think we all are very strong in our principles, and that's amazing to have. But I think it's also really important to know what you believe in and also be open to the possibility that that we can be wrong, that the men are fallible.
The different ways that women can show their power and strength. Sometimes it's through sacrifice and humility and devotion to family, and the ways that we don't often picture being strong.
Who are you in this story? Are you Creon? Are you Ismene? Are you Antigone? Who are you? And more importantly, who do you want to be in this story? And if those aren't the same thing, then how do you get from one to the other?
You are here, you are loved, and you are enough.